Hello, my sweet, sexy vixens. Welcome back to Truth Meets Taboo. Happy 2026. This is going to be the second episode of the new year, and I am so excited because I am welcoming somebody onto the show for the very first time, and it feels really special and exciting. And so I'm very, very, very very excited to be here this afternoon to share that with you all. That there's been some interesting movement and direction for this podcast, which we'll share more about a little bit more into this podcast. But without further ado, I would love to introduce someone who has been a very dear friend of mine for I think a decade now. It's been quite some time, and someone who is very dear and near to me. We met and connected through the space of kink and intimacy and sexuality. And so have had threads of conversations of truth and intimacy in many deep ways over this last decade. And so I'm very excited to welcome her onto this podcast. She is someone that I find to be incredibly brilliant and so insightful. And I know all of the wisdom that she has to share will benefit all of us. So without further ado, please help me welcome Sarah. Hello.
I'm so glad to be here and not to sound like a total fangirl, but you just brought me back to, you know, my first times in the community. I think my one of my first events was even at your home and you were so welcoming. You were just like, "Here's rope." I didn't know what rope was. You were just like, "Here." I was like, "Who's this beautiful creature teaching me all of these amazing things?"
You're so
Look at
sweet.
how far we've come. It's crazy.
I love that we always have this beautiful Libra Leo energy going. Sarah is a beautiful, amazing Libra. If you're not familiar, Libra are air signs. They're very whimsical and beautiful and aesthetic and just gorgeous. They just have this very like loving, fairy, beautiful nature to them. And that's very much how I feel about Sarah. And so getting to engage with that as a Leo is such a fun little exciting dynamic with the fire and the air elements in astrology. And so I adore you. I think you're so wonderful. And I'm just so, so grateful that we've stayed connected for so long. And it's even more serendipitous to me that we've also stayed connected in our professional work too, and the ways that we kind of want to serve and support the world. And so I'd be curious if you would want to share a little bit about that, like what lights you up, what makes you feel passionate.
This year I got the opportunity to come and visit Sage in Texas. I live in Florida. And I remember we were sitting and just talking about our year, talking about the different things that were like lighting us up. And we really started to collaborate with some of the clients that I was seeing. And it was like all of my dreams, all of the things that I had wanted to exist in the world were coming into fruition. And it had made me it just lit this fire under me of like where collaboration can bring the industry of people that work within sexual wellness, within people that work in pelvic health, and for me personally. So I'm happy to answer that question in, what I do or, what excites me, but just genuinely doing these types of work, this type of podcast, where we're really collaborating on different, very unique ideas is what lights me up.
Yay, I'm so excited. Well, I'm curious, kind of going into this new year, 2026. There's a lot of movement, I think, for people. And I'm curious, what are you bringing into this new year? Is there a word or a concept or something that you're thinking a lot about that you're kind of bringing into this new year?
I love this question, and I also love picking a word. This is something I started a few years ago, and I got very nerdy about it. Do you do it too? Do you pick a word?
I usually don't pick a word. I usually pick some sort of phrase or a mantra. I'm really big on mantras. So like my mantra this year is I am not available for anything less, only more or better. So for me, that's about really being invested in my discernment, in my desire, in what I want, and really kind of letting myself know that I'm worthy of having the things that I want and going after the things that I want, and I can have the things that I want, and I don't need to settle for less than what I desire and what I really want to create for my life.
So, like, in your phrase is kind of like a context of the year.
Yeah.
This is a way that and that's how I view a word. So to me, I try to pick a way that it feels and it feels juicy. So the first year I picked it, I remember I was doing this big solo backpacking trip through New Zealand and I was gonna go skydiving, which I will totally not humble brag. I have the picture next to me. You know what? I'm gonna get it because I just look so brave. I'm so proud of this.
You're
But
so brave. I've been thinking about doing this forever. Oh my gosh.
I never so I was literally terrified of bungee jumping. I have seen maybe 10,000 videos of people bungee jumping, and I was so scared of it, but I just decided that I wasn't just gonna do it, I was gonna do it brave, and I wanted to feel super brave and big and bold, so I got a costume, I found a stranger because I was solo backpacking, I got her a costume because I wanted somebody to high five, and I just
Amazing.
dove off, and my word for that year, my context was skinny dip to feel just this like jump, just do it. Like the jumping, you could enter the pool or you could skinny dip and make it fun. So
Yeah, I love
it's
that.
super, yeah, it's super fun for me. And this last year, so 2025, my year was Rose Garden. I knew I wasn't going to be traveling, and I am the very lots of businesses, lots of ADHD, lots of hobbies, lots of interests. I have to like and work hard to keep my focus. And I was like, I want my home to represent the colorful rainbow, like extroverted part of me, but also have roots planted in my community that
Mm,
feels really beautiful, like this beautiful rainbow rose garden.
mm.
And really focus on not what I wanted to get rid of, but what I wanted to add, what I wanted to plant, what I wanted to water in my community and for myself, my work, my personal life, my own relationships, all of that.
I love that. I love that. How do you feel like coming into this year? Do you have a word or a concept or anything that you're thinking about yet for 2026?
Girl, yeah, I do. I'm such a nerd. so so for this upcoming year, I chose the word stage kiss because I it's a play actually by Sarah Rule. I have it right here coincidentally, but I was cast in this and then I wasn't able to do the performance because I had this emergency surgery. And to me, it's taking these brave, vulnerable kisses all year of how can I share more of my story and not just my credentials? How can I share more of me and not feel like I have to mask or filter and be brave in that way, right? There's a brave balance there where you're still doing it in a way where people could hear and really receive important work that you want to share in the world, but that also matches vulnerability. So that's what that means to me. I even have a friendship bracelet with it on right now that I'm wearing.
I love that so much, and I love that you're thinking about being more authentic and storytelling. That feels true for me right now and is alive for me right now too. I'm thinking a lot about my past experiences and things that they have taught me about myself. I'm going through this big transformation right now with kind of how I orient romantically. I'm on an abstinence journey right now, so I'm not being physically intimate. And so I am just learning a lot about myself and I'm journaling a lot and reflecting a lot and thinking a lot about, who am I and how do I, continue to show up as my authentic self and continue to not make myself small or make myself feel like I can't be this person and also not be ashamed of the stories that makes me this person too, right? And trusting that like my stories have meaning and value even if, some part of me is telling me that they are bad or wrong or that I should feel ashamed in some way of them. So that's what's feeling alive for me right now around stories for self. And so I love that you're mentioning that right now.
Hope that we're really old one day having this conversation and we can reflect on all of the identities that we let ourselves live. Because how boring if the girl that came to your house that had never been in the kink world, that had never, if I just stayed in that identity. I mean,
Yeah.
now I literally teach the stuff internationally. Now I have multiple, like, what if I stayed in that identity because I was feeling ashamed of what people might think, or even
Yeah.
just ashamed of myself of what it felt like to let something go that maybe I had worked really hard on, or really that was really important to me at one point and it's no longer. So I'm excited because I think we both share this almost need for um to, because I don't think everybody has that, but almost this like need to constantly be evolving and allowing yourself to live many lives in one lifetime instead of just one programmed one that
Yes.
that you're supposed to do.
I love that you just said many lives in a single lifetime, and I think that's something I've always really appreciated about you as well, is that every time we've connected, every time we've talked, every time we've worked on something, collaborated on something, I think you are a new version of yourself every time, and me as well, and so it's like we work together and collaborate together, and we're growing together and learning about new versions of each other and, like, supporting each other through that, and so that's been really interesting and beautiful for me too to witness, and I think kind of leads into a big part of what we wanted to maybe talk about today, which was thinking about, what we water and how that ends up growing in our lives, right? And for a lot of us, we spend that time watering what you were just saying, the the limiting beliefs, the narratives that we can't, that it's too scary, that it's too much, that it's not for us, that we shouldn't do that, that we shouldn't keep going, that we shouldn't keep taking risks, right? And we keep kind of watering these ideas that we're not enough, or that we're not worthy, or that we can't change, or that we're not allowed to change, or that we're not allowed to be different versions of ourselves, right? Or have different things or better things or pleasure or abundance or goodness. And so we kind of stay in our suffering and we kind of stay in our pain. And then we try to create a life out of that, create a garden out of that, create something out of that, right? And I think a lot of what we're talking about now is, what does it mean to actually water the things that bring you joy and bring you pleasure, the things that you actually want to be doing, the things that, fulfill you in some way or light you up in some way? And what would it mean to continuously water those things instead of kind of watering the things like pain or suffering or things like that, you know?
Is it okay if I give a little background as to why this became so important to me and even in the work that I do? Because I think when you hear it at the destination, you're like, well, duh, why would you water pain? But then when you understand where it's coming from, you're like, oh, wait, I have been watering pain. So it's okay if I give a little context.
Yes. Yeah, please.
So I'm a pelvic floor physical therapist and a sex counselor. And for people that aren't familiar, I talk about pee, poop, and sex for a living and help people with those things. And I help people with their most vulnerable concerns. And what I noticed that the conversations with my patients, the conversations amongst clinicians, the conversations amongst providers and coaches is often, here's this class to remove this problem. Or people come to me and they say, insertion hurts. How do I make it not hurt? Or an erection hurts. How do I make it not hurt? Right? This um, was always the question. And the question was never, how do I really look forward to sex and find it pleasurable? Or it was always towards the absence of pain versus towards pleasure. And it got me thinking, wait, a lot of our treatment, a lot of the way that we do things is moving towards the absence of pain and not towards pleasure. And in fact, anything that is in the realm of pleasure is often considered siloed and taboo. That's the work of coaches, or that's the work of sex workers. But anything is outside of those spaces, and even in those, sometimes it's not centered towards pleasure. It's centered towards a contractual experience that's not always centered around pleasure. So it really changed how I viewed my work, how I viewed myself, my own body, my own sex life, my own relationships, my own journey. And it's become a through line where it started with, okay, I like literally, I'm a very literal, concrete person, want my home to feel like like a rose garden, like I literally put plants around, to no, I want my home, and if you're not watching a video, my body to feel pleasure. What can I do that's not just like, let me lose weight or let me move away from something? What can I do every day that makes my body feel good? What can I How can I infuse this into the work that I do with my patients and help them work towards pleasure? Maybe for most of them, the first time ever, and not just the absence of discomfort, pain, frustration, all of those things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, as I think about this from a sex coach perspective around education, right? I think a lot about the curriculum that we have in the school setting. A lot of the school setting curriculum around sex education is about abstinence from a space of fear, right? A space of kind of coercing people to remain abstinent as a way to avoid sexually transmitted diseases or pregnancy or all of these kind of quote unquote unwanted things, right? And so, even the way that we teach about sex or have people engage with the idea about sex for the first time or start learning about sex for the first time is even from this place of negativity, this place of pain and suffering and having to, monitor yourself and make sure that you're not doing certain things that end up causing all these problems, right? But there's no conversation about what is pleasurable about this, why people would do this, what benefit it has for your body, how it supports you and your immune system, creates oxytocin, your nervous system regulation. We don't talk about any of those things. We don't talk about the benefits or the things that actually support you and your holistic well-being through these activities. We just focus on the negative aspects of it.
And we don't talk about how challenging it is to actually adopt that. Before we even pressed record, we both looked around and we said, how is the aesthetics? How is it looking? We said, how is it feeling? What cup are you holding? Sage was like, oh, I have this cherry cup because I love cherries. It's my branding. I was like, let me get my dragon fruit cup. Because of our experience, and I think in big part of working in sexuality, but also in personal, exploring kink, exploring different relationship dynamics, all of those things, exploring towards the idea of pleasure, it changes the way that you show up in many different ways where you start to think about these things, even when you're recording a podcast episode. you know, what can I do to make this feel good, go well, versus what am I going to forget to say? What am I nervous about? All of that.
Yeah, and I think a lot about that in terms of what you're saying too about like thinking through how do I lean in versus avoid, right? Because even people who are having challenges with the pelvic floor and pain and intensity and things like that, it's a lot of how do I avoid pain? I'm noticing that even in the few conversations I've had with women who are struggling with this, that is their number one question to me is how do I avoid the pain? And it's very interesting to me that we don't start the conversation from what is bringing you pleasure from this? Are you even finding pleasure in this, right? Even in the penetration attempts, are you finding pleasure in that experience or is it feeling overwhelming? Is it feeling stressful? Is it feeling nerve wracking? Like, is your nervous system even settled, right? And all of this, I think, comes back to what we were talking before around limiting belief systems, narratives, or internalized kind of stories that we've told ourselves about what we're allowed to have, what we're allowed to feel, what we're allowed to access, what we're not allowed to access. And for some reason, we did grow up in a society that glorifies pain and vilifies pleasure.
And I agree because, but at the same time, our brains have a bias on purpose towards the negative and towards pain. And it's a protective, really important skill. And I think when we allow that, but at the same time also can hold duality, like two truths, you know, okay, I've watered the garden that's saying, okay, how can I move away from pain? For example, with this person that's hurting, what positions might feel better? Should I use dilator? Should I see a pelvic floor physical therapist? Whatever, blah, blah, blah. And, but it's difficult to hold duality and also water anything in regards to what might feel even a micro moment better. What should the room look like? What should it smell like? Where do I like to be touched? Even, okay, maybe there maybe it's just a curiosity. How do I like to feel? Maybe it's I don't wanna feel fragile even if my body is I wanna feel like a little primal vixen just thrown around, what is it that you want how you wanna feel, all of these things. If you've literally never watered that garden, it's I feel like in my experience with my own things that I've struggled with, it feels like I'm watering rocks, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
"Why aren't you growing yet?"
Yeah. 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 I think getting comfortable in our pleasure and getting comfortable moving away from our pain is really, really difficult sometimes. I think being in our pain feels safe. It feels routine. It feels comfortable, right? And I don't say that to judge or dismiss, pain, that it's very real. And being in it can sometimes become this warm blanket that we don't necessarily want to get out from underneath, right? And so, even just thinking through what is my pain doing to serve me right now, right? Because I'm even thinking about, women who might not even be acknowledging that part of their pelvic floor challenges is the fact that they're trying to have sex with a person that they don't want to have sex with, that they're not actually in an invested relationship with romantically or have a connection with that allows their body to feel safe and open. So even if they want to, right, their body is literally communicating to them like, no, 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 something else is going on here. And when you're looking to avoid the pain, you don't actually then also go into the pain to understand what is it trying to also communicate to me.
Have you felt that? Is this an example from your own life that's kinda coming up for you?
So it was actually an example from someone I was speaking to who was having some pelvic floor challenges and was having some tension in their intimacy. And when I started to kind of unpack with them the relationship that they had with the person that they're trying to have intimate intercourse with, it became very clear and evident in the conversation that the lack of safety and trust between the both of them is creating quite a bit of dissonance in the connection, which I think is creating tension in the body. And her kind of reticence to deal with that is an interesting point of data to me. That she's like, no, I just need to figure it out and push through it and kind of like again figuring out how to do it, but not actually deal with it. Right? And I think that's kind of where the conversation of, like, leaning into our pleasure also comes from, because when we can acknowledge what we want, what brings us pleasure, what is pleasurable for us, we also have to acknowledge what we don't want, and sometimes that's where the pain is coming from, is that we're accepting things that we don't want.
That's a really good point. It's not just what you're, watering the plants with, but if you're actively putting things onto the plants that aren't going to make them flourish, then how are you gonna go anywhere? I'm curious if just the metaphor if there is a place in your own life where you feel like, that this is a big question, but I'm just curious of maybe not exactly pain versus pleasure, but you just felt like, "Okay, I'm putting" I if I look in hindsight or in the moment you notice, like, I'm putting a lot of water towards something I don't like, the absence of this pain or the a or, and you're like, "Wait, I'm not even watering the right I don't even know where I wanna go with it. I'm not even watering the right plants to make myself, happy."
Yeah. I think for me, being a very highly expressive and emotional person, that has been one of my biggest places of shame. I find myself sometimes going into stories and belief systems that I'm too much, that I'm too emotional, that I'm too big, that I'm too expressive, that there's too much to me, and that I overwhelm people and people are not into that, and that I can't take up that much space, and that I need to like make myself more palatable and easier to digest. And what that was doing was suffocating my pain because I wasn't giving myself any room to experience it, which was then making my pleasure feel like something that I had to hold on to so tightly and stay with because I couldn't trust myself to go back in my pain because I would just get lost in it and stay there. And so I would kind of stay in this cycling of like, oh, I'm emotional and I'm too expressive and I'm too emotive. And so then I get into my feelings about it. And then I basically start withdrawing and start removing friendships and relationships and kind of self isolating and all of this kind of stuff. And I'm like, see, it's like this self fulfilling prophecy. I'm too much. It's too much. There's all this pain. There's all this suffering. And then anytime I would find any like glimpse of joy or goodness or pleasure or connection with someone, I would basically like strangle it to death because I was like, "Oh, I have to hold on to this. This is only going to last for a certain period of time. I can't let this slip away because I'm going to become too expressive or too emotive or too emotional one day and this person is going to leave or decide to, whatever." And what I was realizing is that I was suppressing my pain so much and not acknowledging that, like, what is actually going to give me pleasure is to be expressive, to express my feelings, to know myself, to feel myself. And I need to stop externalizing this need for validation from someone else and do it for myself. Water that for myself. Put water towards engaging in my pain and in my suffering in a way that validates me and supports me and makes me feel seen and makes me feel supported so that when I feel my pleasure and start leaning into my pleasure, I can trust myself to go there and be in there without the feeling of like, oh, I'm going to get sucked back into my pain and focused in on my pain and only with my pain.
Love how you just flipped this script, Sage, because I actually haven't considered this, and I wanna make sure I'm hearing you right. It so, the only way I can really, explain things or make sure I'm hearing you is if I kind of, like, give an example, but, I'm neurospicy, neurosparkly, whatever. My whole life have been told I'm too much, kinda like you were talking about, too big of emotions, too and or have felt that energy. And what happens is sometimes you can get really out of touch. For me, was with anger. It was really uncomfortable for me to feel angry. I noticed that it was really difficult for me to be angry, and then it was really difficult for me to set boundaries. This even came up the other day. I was flirting with somebody. They said something along the lines of, "Oh, you're texting a lot." Something very negging to try to get me to do something I didn't wanna do, and at first, all my brain thought was for literally all my brain went to was, "Oh my gosh, I'm this little girl that's texting too much, that's talking too much, that's doing too much," when everything is being reciprocated. Instead of saying, "Oh, no, this person is trying to get me to do something I don't wanna do that I've already said was a boundary," anger, and practicing a negative thing too, practicing letting yourself feel discomfort, practicing, in my case, anger, but practicing that too, kind of flipping that script is really interesting of what you're saying where, um because that when you get the thing there is getting good, not being yourself or dimming yourself, but it's getting good at picking up on your anger and your boundaries and trusting it that it's not a problem, it's not bad.
Yeah, and I think that those of us who maybe struggle with people pleasing or, really struggle in connections with feeling like they lose their sense of self, it can be really difficult to understand that the resentment and anger you're feeling in a relationship sometimes is the lack of boundaries you're holding and the self abandonment that you've done to yourself, right? Where you've allowed something to happen or something to continue to happen or a boundary to be crossed without holding your boundary or without holding a consequence or without holding accountability or whatever. And so then your nervous system essentially begins to be trained in learning that you will self-sacrifice if somebody else wants something or feels something about you or makes you feel discomforted or whatever it might be. And so again, it brings us right back into that pain conversation, right? Where now we're also then associating our pain with anger that we have and resentment that we have for not holding our own boundaries and things like that because we've allowed someone to push us into something that we don't want to do, which is more pain that we don't want to be a part of. So it's like very interesting to me to think about what are the ways that I've allowed myself to be pushed into pain instead of advocating for my pleasure.
you know, to simplify it, because I know, like you, I'm really good at intellectualizing my feelings and really good at, in hindsight, really trying to understand. I'll read all the books. I'll do the 15-year-long meditation and think it wasn't long enough, whatever. I'm just always wanting to improve it for all the ways that are good, and sometimes it's a little bit like, "Oh, just live a little." Is the goal still pleasure? If it's not, we need to reevaluate the things we're doing to try to get to pleasure. Um, but in real simple, sometimes it's not in all of that. It's in that one moment, is deciding the next time that you feel something is off to go, am I angry? That's it. It's that one moment that'll like change everything once you notice it. It's not putting it on a shelf that you're going to change it tomorrow. You're going to look at that tomorrow. You're going to read the book tomorrow about boundaries. You're going to take the class about boundaries. It's like, if you're listening to this and you can relate to that, it's the next time you feel that discomfort in your body that's like, ooh, I don't even know, is you ask yourself, am I angry? And that moment you're changing, you're changing. Like, that's it.
Mhm, mhm.
It's
Yeah,
like that
you're
simple moment.
interrupting the pattern. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm wondering for you, is there an example of this for you where you leaned into pleasure maybe or utilize pleasure as a way to, navigate something that you feel pain about or, have suffering about?
Yeah. So I've always felt really comfortable around topics in sexuality. And even though that's what I do for work, my own personal story, the thing that I've struggled the most with has been my body. I'm a person that's lost 100 pounds multiple times, meaning I've lost it, I've regained it, I've, done all the things. I've had a bariatric surgery, so I had a gastric bypass, I think like 5 years ago now. But, and I've read all the books, I took the therapy, I did all the things to try to work on my relationship to my stomach. And if you've never struggled with body dysmorphia, you might not understand that there's a thought that's just always there, that's just a little distracting about it. You feel it, you see it's there, it's just taking up space. And then if you think about it and you notice it, then it takes up even more space and you're pissed off that you're even noticing that you're taking up space, right? And it's just like, why is it here? And anything I tried, I felt like I was doing it wrong or bad, because I'm like, okay, I'm with my partner who I love. We did all the things, and there's a part of my brain that's still focused on my belly. And so, what really changed that for me was allowing that voice to be there. Like, that voice is always going to be there a little bit, but I stopped watering it. I stopped making it a big deal. I'm like, you know what? If you grew up in the 90s and you grew up in a society that really conditioned you to believe that your stomach or your body in any regard is not desirable, then it's going to be there a little bit. And instead of pushing it away, I thought, how can I water my relationship to my stomach? So I'm really proud of this. So I did like the most bold thing this year, if I could tell you the little story that
Please.
really has made a big difference. So I always wanted to do burlesque. I find I'm a theatrical woman. I'm a actor that moves. I'm really not the best dancer, but I just love the storytelling of it. I love the people and showing their uniqueness and their quirks and the rhinestones and the sparkles and the feathers and the quirkiness. I love drag. I love any form of self-expression that kind of blends worlds of sexuality and theater and arts. It's always been an interest. But I've never done it. I even took a whole student review and I still didn't do it. But this year I decided, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. And I thought, what is the thing that scares me the most about it? And the thing that scared me the most was showing my stomach. So I thought, what if I just really faced that? Because I've lost 100 pounds, and so I have a lot of extra skin. I have stretch marks, and in my mind, that was so terrifying to me, to like literally to imagine a hanging belly in front of an audience. Like I just felt it, and I was like, oh no, my whole body. So I thought, how could I? If Sarah can't go bungee jumping, but Wonder Woman can, who can really celebrate her belly? So I made a whole character. I made a whole character. She's this girl who's going to put on a pair of jeans, and she's like buttoning up these jeans, and she's like, "Why this is really annoying. Jeans suck." So she just starts taking off all her clothes and shaking her belly and not giving a crap about anything. And I did this in front of a whole audience with glitter all over it. And I didn't put on anything that was like restrictive or conforming to my body. I really went fully into celebrating, making fun of in the best way possible, highlighting the liberating things about burlesque, in my opinion, with my own vulnerability in that brave way. And I just did this in October, actually, which is probably why I chose this intention for this year. Because like that made a bigger difference than therapy, than books, than education, than anything I've ever done, was just saying what scares me the most about it and making it fun and playful.
I love this. This is amazing. I think that that is probably one of the most profound things that you can do is take something that brings you so much potential suffering, angst, whatever it might be, look it in the face and say, "You know what? I'm not going to continue to allow this narrative to be the most loud in my voice, in my life, in my mind, like whatever it might be." And I love that you're mentioning burlesque too. I've been thinking about burlesque for a very long time, and I think burlesque just offers such a way of liberation that I think is so beautiful. Like being able to share your body like that and be open about your body like that. I think that's just such a wonderful way to explore this, and so I'm so glad to hear that you had an opportunity to do that. It's incredibly brave of you and wonderful, and yeah, I'm curious now that you're a few months away from it, like, do you feel like it's had any lasting impacts, or, like, do you feel like you're feeling any different since then?
It's changed a lot for me. Well, now I'm really curious, I have to say, Sage, of like which category of burlesque you're curious about. Like, I'm like, am I going to see Sage with some feathers? Are we going to be doing some storytelling that's funny? Is this
I'm
going to be
actually thinking
romantic?
of I'm actually thinking about taking a burlesque class. That was, like, on my list for this year, so I don't know. I don't know what she feels like yet or who she is. I'm learning a lot about myself in this abstinence journey. It's only been, I'm counting the start of it as January 1 because it's just, like, easier that way, but I was, not, physically intimate with anybody before that, so it's been a few weeks now, and so much has been coming up for me, and so I'm just curious how that will also play into kind of my sexual expression moving forward, and I'm sure, like, in how I would wanna express myself in burlesque, and there's a lot of juicy stuff right now, so it's feeling exciting. Yeah.
Take this in a gear and talk about it because it's so much of what you're saying. It's the art of the tease, of
Mhm,
teasing yourself, teasing, the more pleasure you're having, the more fun it is to
mhm,
watch. And
mhm,
so I'm really excited to see that journey for you, that art of like, you can touch it if I want you to, and right now I don't.
mhm,
Even though I
mhm,
love to be touched, but not
mhm.
right now.
Yeah. Well, I'm on this really interesting journey right now where I'm realizing a lot about self-authority, right? And this idea of like how much of my decisions were made for me when I was younger, right? I had a really strict upbringing. And so my dad was very good at like, here's the routine, here's the schedule, here's the timeline, here's the deadline, here are the rules, here are the boundaries. And when you grow up in an environment like that, you kind of lose this sense of, do I know what's right for me? Should I be making decisions for myself? Should I be letting other people make decisions for me? And so going through this journey of thinking about pleasure and thinking about, how do I water what I choose? What does it also mean to choose? What does it mean to have choice? What does it mean to find choice? What does it mean to engage with choice? And yeah, I'm noticing how much I have obfuscated my agency and offered people the opportunity to make choices for me when I really should have been making those choices for myself.
Really excited for this journey for you for your year. And
Yay.
um, you know, this for me anyway, it has infused into my work. I'm starting another business that is kind of inspired by that journey. It's infused into the work that I already do. So I'm happy to share a little bit about that. But I think any context, picking like your context for the year, what you think it might start as and allowing it to evolve, allowing it to change, it's not gonna end there. It's gonna be very
Mhm,
different. But when you
mhm.
pick a context and you're imagining it and you're working towards it, that's like really um, just makes it more fun, makes it more pleasure. So even if it's the context of I'm gonna find what makes me feel good in my body with my choice, my agency, just for me, not for anyone else, and do it in a way that other people think it's for them, like a show, like burlesque, but it's not. This is for me.
It's for
It's
me.
like, yeah. It's like what a cool thing. Very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious, as we're talking about things for me, if there is anything that's feeling alive with you right now in terms of what you're watching or reading. I know for me, I'm reading this book right now called Worthy, and it's a lot about unpacking what it means to feel worthy of the things that you have, the things that you desire, going after the things that you actually desire, exploring within yourselves when you feel a lack of sense of fulfilledness and livelihood and joy, and how that might connect to your feelings of unworthiness, and really having to explore things like self-esteem and shame. And um, it's feeling really prevalent for me right now as I'm thinking about stepping more into my business and stepping more into speaking truth about sex and intimacy and what I really believe we need to be talking about. And so it's bringing up a lot for me in a good way, but it's a little intense. What about you?
Let me know how the book is.
I will, yeah, I'm only on chapter 3 right now, but yeah.
So I'm a book collector and a hobby collector, but I do struggle to finish reading and finish learning. So,
Me
one of
too.
those people I always have a little stack of books, and I do love to read, and I go through seasons, but I am in a season of because I used to read a lot of self-improvement things, and I still do, but I'm really in a season of finding what kind of fiction I like. The sheer just enjoyment of reading because I've struggled with some learning issues, and reading has never been enjoyable for me, and so and it's always been academic. I have all these degrees, all of these things, and I have not really explored reading for fun until recently. So I'm trying many different genres. I got my first like romance, dark romance type of genre, and just dabbling. I'm even reading. So my partner I'm polyamorous, and one of my partners is obsessed with this series of books called Dungeon Crawler Carl, to the point where I had surgery not that long ago, and every day when he'd come and check on me, he would just leave his Kindle with the book, being like, "You should read it. Have you read it? You should read it." I was like, "Really?
Very
Good?"
persuasive of him.
Every single day. It was ridiculous. He has read all the books. He's listened to all the books. I was like, okay, this is obviously a love language for me to read the book. So I have been reading it. I even threw him like he just turned 41. I threw him like a 41-year-old's birthday party that was themed Dungeon Crawler Carl. It was very cute.
Oh my god, that's adorable, and I love that you were like, "Okay, he's wanting me to read this book. This is clearly a love language for him." I love that you just said that 'cause that's so true. Our partners love to just, like, be like, "Hey."
Are you excited about the thing I'm excited about? Yeah.
It's so cute. It's adorable, adorable. Okay, cool, 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 okay.
Yeah, so I that's a new like kind of journey for me is to read different genres than I usually read and explore and
Yeah.
have fun.
I am, I'm also into rom-com season right now. I think you're also a little into rom-com season right now. I'm feeling really good about that too. I'm in nostalgic rom-com season. I'm in, like, the '90s, 2000s, like, when I was a teenager and did not realize the woes of the world, and, yeah, all of that nostalgic rom-com is so alive for me right now. What kind of rom-com are you into right now?
Think it's coming from sinking into the trope of the season because usually tropes really annoy me, but I was like, "You know what? Around Christmas, I was just very excited to watch the cheesiest rom-com I could find with the most predictable storyline I could find." I even found I'm Jewish, and I even found a I loved it. It was called Hanukkah on Rye, and I love musicals, and I had Jeremy Jordan in it, and, it was so cute. It was this, like, really cute rom-com all about latkes, and it was adorable, but
Cute.
so I think it's more of a seasonal thing that I'm like, "Oh, it's February. What could be
What could
matching this
possibly
season?"
I know, I love Valentine's Day too. It's been a long time since I've been single on Valentine's Day. I think I'm gonna do, like, a whole, like, just everything I would want, like, everything I wish and would want somebody to do for me on Valentine's Day, I think I'm just gonna do it for myself. I think I'm gonna send myself, like, a whole big-ass bouquet of roses, like, a big-ass bouquet of roses. And just, like, yeah, I think I'm really gonna go all in on myself for Valentine's Day. I'm feeling really excited about it.
Excited for you, and you know what might be really cool too if you're open to
Mm.
it? A suggestion is maybe even surprising somebody that, like, not somebody that you feel like has expectations for that, like, I mean, literally, like, somebody that you don't even know and just being like all the things that you would want to
Yeah.
feel good, just be like, "This stranger now has 3 dozen roses."
Yes, you're so right, you're so right, that would be so fun. I love that, I love
Just
that.
because I know you and you're such a person that I feel like has you don't you're so talented and you have so many creative ideas, and but you do best when you bring others with you, I've noticed, and you're so good at that. Not everybody has that talent of saying, "Hey, it's not a competition. We should do this together." And so I can just see you being with other femmes or whoever, just being like, "We're gonna have the best Valentine's Day ever. Let me
Ever.
show you how."
Let me show you how. Yeah, no, seriously though, I'm so excited. I think it's gonna be great, and I just think too, like, right now I'm really into my pleasure rituals right now. I bought this, like, pop-up tent thing that I originally was gonna take out with me to festivals or put in the backyard, and then I put her up, and I was so obsessed with her, I said, she's coming in my room. So I put her in my room and she's got like fairy lights on her now. And she's like a whole little alcove of just like pillows and blankets and candlelight. It's so cute. And I'm obsessed. And so I'm just like, yeah, my pleasure rituals are feeling super alive for me right now. Just taking some extra time with myself, loving on myself a little bit. My morning tea, that's feeling really good. I'm curious if you're having any pleasure rituals that are feeling really alive for you.
What's your morning tea? Now I need to know.
Yeah, so my morning tea is usually I will sit down in the living room, I will make myself a tea, and then I will usually like do some sort of journaling practice or some sort of practice where I'm like in divination and things like that. So I really love doing that. What about you?
These people that's kind of high achieving and I like to do all the things. And what I noticed is that I wasn't always centering pleasure. So it'd be like, okay, check, I did yoga. Check, I
Yep.
drank my tea. Check, I did my journaling. Check, I took a few breaths. Check, and also sometimes it would be like, this is taking me too long. And I become a little bit obsessive because in general, I felt better. In general, I was watering the garden but I didn't know what was making it better. So I was like, I need to do all of the things. That's the only thing I know to do. And this might be a little bit of a neurosparkly thing where I struggle in general with prioritization. But instead of picking like a ritual as in, I'm gonna do a routine, where I'm gonna do this and then this, what I've really sunk into and is really working is a ritual of the first few minutes of my day is all anything in the category of feeling good to my brain. And so there's a few different apps that I like. I listen to one's called Othership, one's called I listen to it every day. I wanna say Ritual is a poem app with Rosemary Matalatama. I'm obsessed, I love it. Let me make sure I don't say it wrong. Yeah, Ritual. But,
Cute.
I'll think of, okay, maybe it's literally just silence and breathing, but something for my brain that feels good, and then something inside my body.
Yeah,
And for me, recently, I've been hyper fixated on hot chocolate. It's a
I love hot chocolate.
I've been drinking it every morning, like some cacao. I have different ones. I have one that's like a collagen by Rule 1, so it's kind of like a prop protein hut, but I love it. It tastes delicious. Or sometimes it's just cacao and my little cacao, but it just makes me feel like a queen. I love it. So what can I put in my body that just feels good? And it really intentionally making my morning more ritual based instead of routine based is something
Yeah.
I'm sinking into and it's feeling really good to me.
I love the way you just said that. I'm also trying to be more ritual based than routine based as well. And I'm trying to just listen to my body and go with her flow. And I'm trying to just say, what do you want to do next? Instead of like, what do we need to do now? You know?
Yeah. And it has to have a balance, and I feel like especially for people that, I'm a free wild spirit, but I really do well with structure, and something about having rituals that give me structure because I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this and then this without the confinement of this exact thing at this exact time feels very liberating to the part of me that needs that balance of structure, but also let it out, girl. Let it be wild, be
Yeah.
free.
Yeah. Yep. 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 I'm the same way. I'm the same way. Well, I'm so excited that you joined me for this conversation. And if you all enjoyed this conversation, I have some really good news because Sarah's going to join me for future conversations. We are actually going to be working together for a few episodes that you will be hearing alongside me this season. Largely thinking about this conversation that we've been having with bringing multimodalities into sexual intimacy, coaching, therapy, pelvic floor work, those types of things, and really thinking about how we can create more conversations around sexual wellness and intimacy and health. And so please stay tuned. We'll have some more episodes coming up together talking about these things. And of course, we'll still yap about just our normal everyday storytelling things as well. But before we sign off for today, I would love to invite Sarah to share a little bit about her practice and what she does. I know that if she resonates with you and if she is saying something that is really kind of bringing something forward for you, that that is a sign to maybe reach out or consider working with her because she is truly so amazing and she honestly is somebody that I trust so, 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 so much. And so if you're feeling called to work with her, if you're feeling like anything she shared has felt like something that you really want to engage with, I'm going to encourage you to follow your discernment and reach out to her. So, with that, I'd love to invite you, Sarah, to share. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Well, I'll make sure to give you the link, best ways to communicate with me because I am one of those people that have a lot of different interests, a few different things that I do. But if you're listening to this, I'm very approachable, so feel free just to say hello. You can go to my website. There's a contact form, so it's confidentpelvicrehab.com, or I'll give a link. So I do help people with sexual dysfunction, pelvic floor disorders, but that's only in Florida. Um, that's where my practice is in North Florida. But I also help people internationally more around finding their pleasure, especially if they've had these type of struggles with physical limitations. And I teach it. I love to teach it. So I have mentorship, a whole 6-month program for providers and coaches that want to learn this. And this year, I am really excited because I am starting a new program that's more in this brave balance and vulnerability with bodies and people that have gone through a weight loss journey and how that affects. It's not just people. It's not just people don't want to just lose weight. They want to have great sex. They want to feel good in their body. They want to feel confident. Right? Like these are the things that people are actually wanting. And I can't think of a better person than me has really lived that and has all of those type of experiences to help those people. So that's something I'm venturing into. I'm very excited about going into for 2026. and approachable. So yeah, just say hi at the link and introduce yourself. And I'd love to, if you listen to this, even just letting me know the things you resonated with. You'd be surprised how long of a way it goes. Sometimes it feels like you're sharing your heart and soul into a void. So anything that you share with Sage or I, even just how something resonated, it really does make a difference and makes us feel really good.
Yay! I'm so glad that you were able to join, and I'm super excited for our future conversations, and I hope that you all are too. And so I love you all so much. Thank you so much, as always, for being here, for being in community together. Would love to hear your thoughts in the comments, so feel free to let us know. And as always, wherever your longing leads you, I hope you stay turned on by your truth.